Can't decide and torn between a romantic, comedy, action, or an indie film to watch for the weekend? Well. Golden State Media Concepts Movie Podcast is your ultimate guide to the latest movies. Join us as we dissect the latest on the blockbusters. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Movie Podcast.
To the GSMC Movie Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Heidi, and today I am very excited to be sharing the mic with the wonderful Sarah.
I am excited to be here to share the mic with you. We actually have two mics,
yeah,
but whatever.
We do. We're not that close.
Meaning our heads are not like stuck together in front of one mic.
Yeah, we're not Siamese twins, so just in case you were wondering. I am excited. Today we are talking about the series, the trilogy, How to Train Your Dragon.
Yay!
And they recently came out with a third one, which I didn't really know that it was like a trilogy series where they end it. I thought it'd be one of those things where they just keep going forever, like
yeah.
Marvel films or whatever. Like have like 21 of them.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
but
Marvel films will never ever end.
They will never. We'll be talking about that soon, but yeah, they will never end. So I was glad that it was a trilogy, and I feel like DreamWorks made the smart decision to make it so. Because otherwise it would just go on forever. And they do have spin-off TV shows. Oh yeah, I do want to mention that. So if you look up How to Train Your Dragon on Netflix, it'll probably take you to its like spin-off TV show episodes, which is not the movie. But they're probably charming for children, I would imagine. Okay, so the first How to Train Your Dragon, this came out in 2010, and all of the movies, all the films in this series are loosely based on the book with the same name from 2003 by British author Cressida. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Cressida Cowell. And the film was directed by Chris Sanders and Dean DeBlues?
Oh,
that's French.
See, I went away from the notes, and
now
how
dare you?
Oh, geez, yeah. It would be Dubois, but then the L, Dubois? That's really hard to say.
I don't know.
I apologize, sir. I do not know.
I wonder if that's
Dubois.
a typo.
Let's just say with Dubois.
Yeah, okay, that works. Hopefully, I'll just call him Dean. Just avoid the whole thing. So directed by Chris and Dean, and a screenplay by Will Davies, and also the two directors, Chris and Dean. I'm avoiding it. I'm definitely going to avoid that. Okay, so I'm sure that you have seen this movie, or at least heard of it, or seen the posters somewhere.
I have seen it. It's been like 1,000 years, and I only sort of remember it.
Yeah, I think I actually watched it while I was babysitting children.
I remember thinking, why are all the Vikings Scottish?
That is a fair point.
I love Scottish accents, but they're Vikings. They should be Norwegian or something.
Yep.
They're all Scottish.
And they all have inconsistent accents.
Yes. Well, except for the ones that are actually Scottish people.
Yeah, true. But I don't think, like, the main character, he doesn't fake an accent. He doesn't, like, put on a fake Scottish accent, I don't think.
No, he doesn't.
He just talks like...
Just like his regular.
Regular. So, I mean, it's a children's movie. It's not like they're going to really notice.
No, the kids are like, I just noticed that they are not Norwegian.
There's this discrepancy in their accents, I don't think. Yeah, thankfully they avoided that situation. But it stars Jay Baruchel as Hiccup. Oh, I didn't realize his whole name is Hiccup Horrendous Haddock III.
There are two others out there somewhere.
Oh, two other Hiccups. And he is the son of Stoic the Vast, who is voiced by Gerard Butler. Also, Stoic the Vast is like the chieftain of Berk, which is the land where this particular group of Vikings live. Also, Craig Ferguson plays Gobber, who I did not really recognize his voice as this character. Until I saw his name come up. But there are a lot of cute characters. I think they're all very lovable. And also America Ferrera as
who's not
Astrid
Scottish
Hofferman.
or Norwegian.
Not at all. Not at all. The accents are really just all over the place.
Yeah.
very diverse group of Vikings, you know?
Yep.
My main thought as an adult, as someone who, not looking at it through a children's vision, is the Vikings are a lot nicer than I thought Vikings were.
Yeah, if you've watched the Vikings TV series, don't go into How to Train Your Dragon with that image in your head.
It is very, very different. They have all the Vikings in How to Train Your Dragon have funny facial hair, and
they're hipsters.
Actually, just like Stoic the Vast has like a strange beard with like multiple braids, and he's also way bigger than like all the other Vikings, and it's not what you'd expect if you're thinking normal Vikings.
And if he's Stoic the Vast, but his son is Hiccup the Third, shouldn't he be Hiccup the Vast?
I don't know.
Apparently it's a nickname, but
yeah, like
you
an
know.
Uncle or something maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe an uncle with no children. I don't know.
I don't
You have
know.
to pass on the name somehow.
T.
So this first movie in the series, it takes place in the mythical Viking world where the Viking teenager, Hiccup, aspires to follow his tribe's tradition of becoming a dragon slayer. He does capture his first dragon, and he has a chance at last of gaining the tribe's acceptance by ending the dragon, but he befriends it and really no longer wishes to kill it, and they kind of become buddies. And if you've probably seen, I'm just gonna go out here and say it's come out in 2003. I'm not really concerned about spoilers for this film. But you see them bonding because when Hiccup tried to capture this dragon that is particularly a Night Fury, he then names it Toothless because he has retractable teeth, which is very cute, and he has a lot of like gummy smiles.
He does.
It's very adorable. He captures the dragon and injures it, and then Hiccup feels bad and tries to help him by building him like a prosthetic fin thing to allow him to fly with Hiccup helping him. And the other thing that I didn't really realize at the time of the movie, which again, this has been a while since I've seen the first one, but Hiccup has to be riding Toothless to kind of like make it all work. So they're very reliant on each other, which is pretty
It's a
adorable.
symbiotic relationship, if you will.
Yes. And again, this is DreamWorks, which is really mostly known for like Shrek. So this is pretty far from that. But they did a good job. This particular film, the first one, was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature and Best Original Score at the 83rd Academy Awards. Also, I want to mention that the look of the protagonist, Hiccup, really just kind of resembles his voice actor, who is, again, Jay. And you may know Jay from, like, Seth Rogen comedies like This Is the End and whatnot. He's a very, like, awkward-looking, lanky type of guy. He just kind of stumbles around, basically like exactly what Hiccup does. And
typecasting.
Yeah, they really did. I would not be surprised if they hired him and then kind of based some of the animation off after like how he looks, you know, just like had him walk around the studio and just copied it.
Maybe.
Potentially. The dragons also in this film are kind of like the ideal pets. They're like a mixture between like dog and cat characteristics, plus they can, you know, fly and breathe fire and whatnot. But they're very adorable. I really enjoyed that. And after the success of the first film, of course, a sequel was created, How to Train Your Dragon 2, which came out in 2014. The film takes place like 5 years after the first film, and it features Hiccup and his friends as sort of like young adults at this point. And they meet Valka, who is actually Hiccup's long-lost mother.
Aww.
Again, this came out in 2014. I don't feel bad about spoilers.
Dang it, I haven't seen it. Now
I'm
it's spoiled.
sorry,
No,
Sarah.
I'm kidding.
Okay, I was going to say, you might want to
I'm
leave
all
for
good.
this one.
I'm all good. I don't mind spoilers.
Okay,
Most of the
good.
time. I mean, like if we're talking about something that came out last week, I might be
yeah.
upset. But
well, that's fair.
because I haven't gotten my butt in gear and actually watched the second and third ones, I can't complain.
You have had a couple years. So.
I've had some time.
But they meet Valka, who is Hiccup's long-lost mother. And there is also Drago Boldvist, who is a madman who wants to conquer the world. And it's definitely also equally heartwarming as the first one. The cast is mostly the same, except that, let's see, who gets added. Cate Blanchett plays Valka, who is, again, Hiccup's long-lost mom, also Stoic's wife, of course. Kit Harington plays Eret, who is a dragon trapper who sells captured dragons to Drago, and Drago is voiced by Jamon Husson? Who's so? Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, wait. Now, see, I lost my notes again. This is what happens when I don't follow along.
Take you on the show and you just...
I know, and I just... See, I was on IMDb looking up the actor because I couldn't remember what he looked like.
Oh, yes.
And then my internet was being all slow, and so I got
sidetracked. He looks like Hiccup, but darker hair.
Oh, Jimon. Jimon Hunsu, I think.
Okay, thank you.
I could be wrong.
What Sarah
Digimon
said. Yes.
Yeah.
And also I want to say, all of the voice acting is very good in this film. I really feel like every animated feature that I've seen recently, probably all the ones that I've talked about on this show, I'm always like, man, I'm so impressed by the voice acting. And I really am. I think they did a very good job. They introduce, of course, Hiccup's mom, and it just kind of like shows the continual expansion of the world of Berk and also just the other Viking lands. So they're really using their animators and showing all the diverse worlds. There's like this other dragon world, not just what you see on Berk, with Valka, and they really expand the universe, both character-wise and also just land-wise. Like with all of the beautiful creations and all of the different dragons, you get to see a more diverse range of dragons and just kind of see different species. And it's very beautiful to watch. I really enjoyed that part.
They did a really good job, I thought, with because there's a lot of very kind of intricate and detailed animating they have to do with the flying, and as I haven't seen the second and third, but I assume it's probably the same. I was very impressed with the animation in the first one.
Yeah, I felt that too. And I think they continue that, and they just get better over time because, technology improves, especially in the hidden world. The animation, the look of it is very, very impressive. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back and keep talking about How to Train Your Dragon.
Want to know the latest and hottest music hitting the airwaves? Don't be left out. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Music Podcast. Keith keeps you on the loop with everything you need to know from pop, rock, hip-hop, and the top 40. And we'll throw in news of your favorite artists, concert and tour dates, and so much more. Listen no further, because this is the gold standard in music podcast.
Welcome back to the movie podcast. We are continuing to talk about the series How to Train Your Dragon. Before the break, we were talking about How to Train Your Dragon 2. Again, this film is an expansion on the first one. You meet new characters. You get kind of the continuation of the relationship between Hiccup and Astrid, and you see that continue to develop. And you also get to see, of course, the relationship between Toothless and Hiccup, and that continues to develop, and they just kind of learn more about each other, I would say. And you kind of see Hiccup kind of get like a mother figure, and that's interesting. And you kind of see where more of the dragon training comes from, because he's not necessarily getting it from his father, who wants to kill the dragons, but you're getting it, or at least in the first film,
right?
Until they change the whole land of Berk. But you see that he really gets it from his mom, which is very adorable, and I've greatly enjoyed seeing that. And of course, voiced by Cate Blanchett. How can you not enjoy that?
Yeah.
So good. Okay, so I want to move on to the last How to Train Your Dragon movie in the series. This is in theaters now. It is How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. It is an expansion, and again, with technology, just the animation has gotten better, and it's really, really beautiful. I just want to say that right now. Okay, so now that the humans and dragons have found a way just to, cohabitate peacefully on Berk, the greatest threat to their community comes in the form of poachers and a new villain, Grimmel, who is played by F. Murray Abraham. And Grimmel is determined to hunt down and exterminate every last Night Fury. Hiccup has to seek the Hidden World, which is a secret dragon utopia, before Grimmel can find them first. Again, in the last one, you have new villains, you have a new character. Again, you get a new villain in this one. Although I do want to mention the dragon trapper Eret sort of is a villain at first and then just kind of joins Beric and becomes not a villain, and he returns in the third one as well. So it's kind of, I don't know. They always come up with new villains, and then they just come up with new land expansion. So they're keeping in that trend, I will say. But they do it really well. And again, the animation is great. And also, like the first and the second film, this is directed and written by, again, Dean DeBlois. And it is also, again, based on the books that the other ones were based on. And it brings back the familiar cast, but again, you have F. Murray Abraham as Grimmel the Grizzly, who is the infamous dragon hunter.
Stop it.
I'm sorry, Sarah. It's going downhill for you here.
Stop hunting the dragons!
Oh, I know. It'll be depressing for you to hear about this. But it is a children's film, so if you're on the edge of your seat wondering if it ends well, this shouldn't be a spoiler. The Night Furies are not extinguished.
They don't get wiped out, yeah.
Just in case you're wondering, they would not do that to children. Maybe if they did, it would probably make bigger news. Yeah. Also, I do want to mention something that I will be bringing up later. Another change in the acting is they change T.J. Miller, who voiced Tough Nut, to Justin Ripple. I'm sorry. Tough Nut is a terrible name. I just want to add that.
But isn't there one that's like Snotlot or something like that?
There's like Snotlot, and then there's Rough Nut. It's the sibling of Tough Nut.
I would hope so.
It's terrible. Yeah, it's either sibling or like parent, I'm sure. But I will talk about that later. Okay, so one of the things I want to talk about in this film, there are just so many wonderful things about this movie. The series overall has allowed the characters to grow and change over time, which is something that is not super common in a children's film. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the strengths that it has always had, and they're changing and growing in a way that is not, I don't know, it's believable and heartwarming, I guess, because there are other examples of, like, you know, characters developing over time. Like, even in the last DreamWorks, like Shrek, like, even in that, like, there's character development, but this is, I would say, more, what's the word I want to say? It just, like, tugs on your heartstrings more, and it's more like genuine growth, I guess, which is really nice to see. And, of course, there's just more character development both for humans and dragons, which is adorable. And I feel like I haven't talked about Toothless enough. Toothless is adorable. Toothless. I see, like, black cats now with, like, kind of green eyes and just think of Toothless, which is what the media has done to me. It's what this movie has done to me. But they continue to develop that character as well, which is really saying something for a character that doesn't talk.
Yeah.
But they really have gotten the expressions down, I would say. The dragons, they emote very well, as do all the other dragons, but mostly Toothless. Also, Toothless is like the cutest looking one, kind of, in my opinion.
Yeah, he doesn't really have that sort of traditional dragon look, per se. No, he
kind of just looks more like a tadpole.
Aw.
A cute tadpole. But a lot of the other dragons are kind of funny looking. Like, I kind of just watch them and I'm like, why do you have that weird, almost eyebrow-like thing on your head?
So
You're a dragon.
They have to be able to, you know, have expressions. So they have to give them, like, eyebrow-looking things.
But it doesn't, like, move. It's like a weird scale thing. I'm thinking of the dragon that Valka rides, and it has this weird, like, thing on its head, face, that I'm like, looks like you have a visor.
Well, the sun was in its eyes. It's a brow ridge.
That's true. Maybe it's all just for practical.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just making this up.
Potentially. I don't know.
Evolution and stuff.
Yeah, sure. Diversity of the species. But you do get to see some other cool dragons that get introduced. Specifically in this film, you also just have the hidden world, which is gorgeous. I don't think I can say enough about the quality of the animation. It's really very wonderful to watch. Another thing that is really a pro to this film is that you probably want to watch all of the movies in this series, like in the trilogy form, the first, second, and the third. But you also can kind of just watch any of the films as standalones. You might not know all of the background, but I don't think you necessarily have to, which is pretty important in my opinion to, like, kids movies, because I think, you know, they don't have to watch them continuously. They can just, you know, pop in and see one and not have to worry about the other two.
Or you as an adult, yes, when you're, you know, like randomly taking your nieces or you're babysitting or any, you know, you're taking your friends' kids to a movie and you're suddenly watching How to Train Your Dragon 3 and you've never seen any of them.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's really just a plus to this series.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that, especially because I saw the second one recently, but I hadn't seen the first in a while. And I asked some questions to my friends, but still I was like, I get what's going on. Although you probably will appreciate them more if you watch them in the series.
Although, can I just say that I read a book series. I read number 4, number 1, number 2, number 5, and I still haven't read 3.
Oh.
There are actually reasons for that, but it's, yeah.
I think sometimes you can do that with media, though. But I think particularly it's helpful in like children's films to have that ability.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to mention about this film, like all the other ones in the series, they're very entertaining. And not only entertaining, they're very heartwarming. They're adventure stories that the whole family can enjoy. Again, they're Vikings, but not like actually Vikings.
Right. So, there's no pillaging.
No, there's no pillaging. So really, everyone can enjoy them, I feel. Probably even potentially young teenagers, maybe if they're cool. I don't know. But if they're just like, I'm not going to go see a children's movie, then yeah, no, they're probably not going to like it. But I would say even adults can watch it and not feel bored out of their minds, which is definitely a plus to this film, because it could become one of those where your kid just wants to watch it over and over and over again. And yeah, you want a movie that has some quality if you're going to subject yourself to that. But it is very heartwarming, particularly I would say with the heartwarming aspect, there is the introduction of a light fury, which is like the night fury, but white. So very creative in that naming sense. And they introduce the light fury and it becomes like a love interest for Toothless.
As you can tell by the poster. If you kind of look at the poster, you're like, something's going on there.
Yes, exactly. And in the trailer, I think what got a lot of people interested is you see that there is a potential love interest for Toothless, and you get to see in the trailer the like very humorous attempted like mating dance between the two of them.
So are they going to have little gray babies?
Well, you're going to have to watch the movie, Sarah.
I guess so.
You all are going to have to watch the movie. But I think with the introduction of the love interest, that's allowing more conflict to really be inserted into like the Toothless Hiccup relationship, which also sounds weird to say together, Toothless Hiccup. With the relationship between those two. And again, that just serves as like this catalyst for growth between both characters in their relationship and just between them individually. So I think that's definitely a strength, again, that the film has, is really this character development and growth. And just the introduction of this potential relationship adds to that. So I really enjoyed that. Also, the film is challenging not just the relationship between Toothless and Hiccup, but also the relationship that many Burke residents have developed with their dragons. And like Velka points this out in the film, but honestly, it's like a relationship that I would say the Burke residents have become extremely dependent on the dragons. And at least I'm really glad they addressed that, because as a viewer, I kept being like, well, now they just use the dragons for everything. So I'm really glad they brought that up, because the whole time I'd just be like, this is just using them.
You're just using the dragons.
They're so beautiful, and you're just using them. So I'm glad they addressed that and at least brought it up. And it's something that, again, it just involves a little more conflict, which makes the story generally more interesting. So I'm very glad that they put that in. Gives a little bit more, I don't know, dynamism, I guess, if I want to use a big word for a kid's movie.
Sure.
Oh, another thing that I like about the addition of the Light Fury and the potential relationship between Toothless is that also is kind of like a parallel between the relationship between Hiccup and Astrid, which has been developing since the first film. So it's also, again, just the introduction of a female character, which is expanding the world, just as the introduction of Hiccup's mom is also like a world expansion for the film. So I enjoyed that. And we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back and keep talking about How to Train Your Dragon.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Movie Podcast. We are continuing to talk about the How to Train Your Dragon trilogy, specifically the final film, How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. As you can tell from the title, there is an introduction of a hidden world. And Hiccup is always a character that is exploring and kind of mapping the Viking world, and that brings him, along with the research from his father, to the interest in the hidden world and to the desire to discover it, along with the pressure they're feeling from Grimmel hunting them. So they do find the hidden world. I will tell you that now. You see it in the trailer, so I don't feel bad about that. It is gorgeous. It allows DreamWorks to really flex their muscles and just show not only this like fantastical, like gorgeous scenery, but also just a plethora of dragons.
Ooh, plethora, good word.
Oh, thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you. I tried with that one. Also, something that I feel really shows to the ability of the animators to portray the dragons as really emoting is there's this scene that's almost like the first date between Toothless and the Light Fury. But of course, there's no dialogue because they're dragons. But you see the whole scene without dialogue and just with like the music in the background and the animation. And I feel like it really does work. It's not nearly as cheesy as you might think it would end up being. So hats off to them for that. I really felt Toothless being nervous on a first date.
Aww.
It was really cute.
Poor Toothless.
Yeah, Toothless without his teeth. I just think that's adorable. Like an old man smile.
Yeah.
Just charming the ladies. I want to mention a conflict that I had brought up earlier, which is the change from TJ Miller being the voice actor. They changed to Justin Ruppel. I keep wanting to say Ripple, but Justin Ruppel. And again, the character Tough Nut, which is a terrible name, had the voice actor change. And I guess, I don't know, it's interesting because I like TJ Miller from the show Silicon Valley, but I also think he's kind of crazy.
Oh.
He was recast following reports of a potential sexual assault allegation, or I guess I shouldn't say potential, against a sexual assault allegation. And also, he was arrested on charges of calling in a fake bomb threat, which, he did call in a fake bomb threat, which is really dumb. And in relation to the fake bomb threat and the allegations...
What was he thinking?
He probably wasn't thinking.
Well, true. It was really dumb. You're correct.
Very dumb. In relation to that, the studio decided to maybe cast someone else in the role. And this comes from Dean, the director. He said in an interview, "I was reluctant to make the change, but it was a decision that came," he said, on high, so the people above him. Mm-hmm. And he said, tied to the headlines last year. So in relation to the bomb threat and the sexual allegations, they decided to change. Dean continued and said, so I went along with it, but it's regretful because he's such a comedic genius and has given us some really great stuff, referring to TJ Miller, of course. Mm-hmm. Also, the voice performance of Justin Ruppel, it was all done through ADR, which is automated dialogue replacement, because the movie had already been animated to match TJ Miller's recorded performance. So he had already recorded it all, which is even sadder, kind of. Because TJ Miller why'd you do that?
Poor life choices.
Yeah, it was a bad decision. And also the role of Tough Nut, which sounds ridiculous to keep saying.
TN.
Yeah, like TJ, but TN. Which he is a ridiculous character, but his character has so many more speaking lines in the third film that are very funny. So I was really sad they cut TJ Miller because I like him as an actor. And he really does sound like TJ Miller. So Justin Ruppel did a very good job. He is a comedian and he also does impersonations. So I guess that kind of makes sense that he was cast in that role to kind of imitate what TJ Miller would say and how he would say it. And it was really impressive that they went through the animation and changed the lines like that. I find it very convincing. And the character still felt intact. It didn't feel weird. But Tough Nut is a very funny character in the film, and I'm really glad they expanded his role. It's, I think, really good comedic relief, especially because Hiccup's not a super funny character, even though Jay, who voices him, is pretty funny. It is a comedian himself. In the end, I just want to say, overall, the film is enjoyable, and I kind of feel like it's like comfort food. It's like comforting for me to watch, sit on my couch with a blanket and some tea and just, I know that it's going to end well.
Aww.
And that's comforting. And I get to watch this adorable story and Toothless, who is so cute.
I get that.
And it's just, I just enjoy it. It's like a fun thing to watch. And I think, obviously, kids will love it. And they obviously have for the past, at least 2 films that they already have data on, has been very popular. Mm-hmm. So I think that will just continue. And hence why they just, made a bunch of spin-offs. Again, I just think it's a great film for the whole family, and the film does set like good examples for kids who might watch it. It does have kind of like nice morals without being hit over the head with them, but it kind of shows like the importance of being kind to others who are different, like the dragons, and also in the first film to Hiccup, who is a very sort of oddball character, not super popular, but he comes to be accepted and to sort of like change the minds of many in his community, and eventually becomes a leader of the community. So I think like being okay with being different, accepting those who are different, and just the power of like friendship, the power of loving others, and it's enjoyable. It's fun. There's a great soundtrack to go along with it, or soundscape really, in all of it. I think it does sound very good. And again, I just think it has a lot of watchability, not just all in a series, but individually as well. So,
well, maybe that's what I'll do this weekend. Just watch all 3 of them.
Yes, you really should.
That's what I should do.
I did do that over the weekend.
Nice.
Well, I watched the second and the third, but I thoroughly enjoyed them. And my housemates got to watch it too, and we all had a good time.
Oh, a good time was had by all.
Yeah, so I think it's something that everyone can enjoy and kind of smile with. So, highly suggest, and you should definitely go see the third one while it's in theaters. And if not in theaters, then when it comes out, inevitably on DVD
many
and
other
streaming.
Yep.
So, highly recommend. And that brings us to the end of our show. Thank you so much for listening, and please tune in to the next GSMC Movie Podcast.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Movie Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.